Hey everyone, welcome to Naked with Dr. Money. I'm so happy you're joining me again here today. Naked with Dr. Money, as many of you know, is where I, Dr. Steph Ardrey, share a little bit along the journey of how I am both maintaining my own mind, body, and soul while delivering wellness solutions to you all through our wellness resorts around the world, where we focus on mind, body, and soul holistic wellness, right? So, this idea is that it takes a combination of all of these elements to ultimately live a full life, and full life being 120 years and beyond. So for those of you who are talking about you're over the hill at 50 and 60 and all that stuff, life just began. So you need to dust off your shoes and get back in the game. And the best way to get back into the game is to set the intention. So I spend a lot of time each week around a conversation that's aimed at addressing the mindset, because what's consistent in whatever it is you're doing in your life, your existence, right? It all is about your mindset. The intentions that you either consciously set or unconsciously set by not consciously setting them are the experiences that you realize along your journey. So if you want to change your experiences, you have to change your mindset. And that, my friends, is some of the most difficult work that you will do. But that means you should do it, right? You shouldn't run away from it. You should do it, because guess what? You can experience whatever it is you choose to just by choosing to. I was sharing with a friend of mine last evening how fulfilled I am. And someone said to me, "Man, you look like you're glowing." And it's like, yeah, inside out, right? When you know that you are connected to your true self, your true experience, your true source, then you don't spend a lot of time second guessing, wondering, questioning. But what you do spend time doing is focusing on and manifesting. And it's because if that mindset has you on track, then it sort of motivates you. And I think that's what leads to the manifestations. So, in our conversation today, as always, I'll have a conversation with my guests. We'll talk about mindset, we'll talk about motivations, and we'll talk about her manifestations. And then, of course, I'm going to ask her, what does she think about mindset? Is it a result of your nature, or is it a result of how you've been nurtured? So we'll have that. But before we do that, let me tell you about my guest. My guest today, Melanie Perry, is a dear friend. Not only do I adore and respect her professionally, but I love and adore her personally. She's the kind of friend that you want to have. Sometimes I talk about your fave five. you know, Within that fave five, you usually have some friends that just take a stand for you. They want to be in relationship with you. And in the beginning, we never know, is a person in our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime? Well, I'm so grateful that Melanie has proven to be along this journey for a lifetime. I love her. But let me tell you why you're going to love her too. First of all, she's a certified financial planner. She likes to help people create sustainable wealth by helping them make wise decisions. The thing that I loved about Melanie is not only has she had a passion for her clients, but she had a love and passion for financial literacy and believed that kids, the babies, could master these concepts. and that she felt that she was the person to deliver those messages early on so that we could begin to change the wealth outcomes and to heal wealth wounds and all of those different things. So back in 2010, Melanie created Zeallionaire Enterprises, where she also spends time not only writing books, but training, hosting workshops. She has a lot of content that she's been getting out there. She has groups. She is definitely a teacher. And what teachers do, in my humble opinion, is that they demonstrate their lessons by how they're living and working through their own journey. So, without any further ado, I would like to introduce you all to my friend, Melanie Perry. Hey, beautiful.
Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I know people are watching around the world today.
Absolutely. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and as always, Dr. Ardrey, it is a joy and a pleasure to be in your company and to share this space, providing enlightenment to those that are in listening ear of our conversation today. I always think of you as my bigger sister, and so it's been a joy knowing you professionally and personally as well.
I know it's been such a fabulous journey. And I think that this season of, transition, right, has been fabulous. I love that we've remained in alignment, which also keeps us, connected in communication. We've done so many things together and we need to continue to do those things. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm about to kick off the 420 Tranquility in Treasure Beach series. So definitely want to include you in that. But I'm so glad that you could join me today because this Naked with
Absolutely.
Dr. Money series was really kind of that, opportunity, if you will, for me to demonstrate a little bit how I do, because people are always, Steph, you're always doing something, how did you do 2 doctorates? And, every time you're doing all this, so I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you manage it. And, and so I said, you know what? Let me pull back the layers a little bit and share because
Yes.
you share your journey, maybe somebody will pick a nugget and go, okay, I too can do that. Right. And then also being able to, sort of be a little more vulnerable, if you will, because every day it doesn't always work out perfectly, but you have to do a course correction because then sometimes obviously if it's our thoughts that are manifesting, then that
Hmm.
means a thought must have gone off track,
Right.
right, for me to have something that I don't want. So let's revisit that thought, right. Let's change
Indeed.
it.
Indeed. A few things that you had mentioned in the introduction in terms of, our journey and having to um, be transparent and to be real. A lot of times with this social media, you tend to think that people didn't have trials and tribulations and their journey was just a continual, process because of what we continually see. And then that gets reinforced and you don't realize that that iceberg is deep. It's not just what you see,
Right.
at the top. And it's most people, I forget the statistic, but a large percentage of people that become successful, and success is your definition of success, right? Had to go through some kind of trial and tribulation. When I'm working with my clients, I always tell them, or they feel a little insecure in terms of where they are in their journey of their financial progress, and they kind of want to know, are other people like me in the same space of growth and development past the age of 40? And I
Mhm,
let them know that, your past is your past
mhm.
and where you are in your journey is purposeful and divine. And the experiences that you've had thus far were purposeful and designed. There is uh, in the Yoruba tradition, they don't consider adulthood until the age of 40. And if you think about it, I've been hooked on TikTok. So I'm getting, quote, woke, so to speak, from various things that I'm seeing it and also reminded, I should say. And I learned that our brain, the human brain, doesn't completely formalize fully develop until our mid to late 20s. So if our brain doesn't develop to our mid to late 20s, and we don't know anything in our 20s in the first place, you don't get grounded until you're in your 30s, get kind of comfortable with yourself, but you really become alert and more steady in that fourth decade of your life. And that's when most people are beginning to get their financial house in order, because they're like, shoot, I've got 20 to 25 years before, quote, that retirement age. And so, to the note of mindset and to the thought of being transparent and clear, we have to own our journey, own where we are, recognize that it's not too late. And now that I'm reminded of our 120-year lifespan, I've got 74 more years to go.
Exactly. And beyond, right? It's whatever and I mean, the data, the statistics are showing that. I mean, I'm seeing it on policies that go up to 120. So it's like, hey, it's
Right.
here, right? So you get to choose how it is you would like to enjoy the rest of this particular journey. But also, when you think about it, I agree. In fact, I remember one of the organizations that I worked with, probably when I was in my early 30s, and one of my colleagues was going through a divorce, and he came over to a group of us and sort of said, I really think no man should marry before 40, because
Mm,
we have no clue what it is we want or what it is we're really trying to do. And he said it. He says, really, we shouldn't. And
mm.
at that point, we finally come into our knowing. So keep that in mind. And I was like, okay, great.
Note to
Some
self.
folks, the right. The sad thing is, I see some folks, go knocking on 60's door, and it's like, okay, by now you should have figured some stuff out, homie. You have stunted growth here. You're still have the Peter Pan syndrome, these folks who refuse to grow up, right? But
Yeah.
nonetheless, so around our conversation of mindset, what do you think in terms of mindset? Do you believe that mindset is a result of a person's nature, or is mindset nurtured?
You know, I'm glad you've asked me that question now a third time. So I think I have like a third perspective, of it, a deeper perspective. I think that we are born with the knowledge that we can do anything and all that we are capable of. What begins to shift is the environment of the um, household and community and culture that we were born into. And so I think it gets adjusted and modified. But as a spiritual being having a human experience, I believe that we were all born wealthy. We all have an indelible, unique imprint that we are here to bring added value to society, added value to the world. And how that begins to get nurtured is either because we've got conviction, and or our environment, our parents, our family, extended family, our that one teacher that recognized our highlights, or that one auntie, or something sparked you, or that stranger that just happened to cross your path and shift your paradigm. But it's the journey along the way that begins to nurture us, whether we've had a skip to me Lou kind of lifestyle, or whether we've had one full of trauma, tragedy that leads to triumph. I got to write those three T's down. That was a good one. Is this being recorded?
Yeah.
That just came to me. But a lot of people experience such trials and tribulations in their life journey. It's almost like, what am I here for? What is the purpose? Everything was just horrible. But those challenging situations are a setup for you to really provide a significant impact in the world, so that other people don't have to experience, at least on a large scale, what you may have experienced. So,
And
yes,
that
it's
is so
my.
important. No, that is so important, because that was really the impetus behind me going forward with this blog. Because at times, I'm a true introverted personality, and you know how, it's like, do I really have to? And then it's like, yeah, you really have to, because not only do
Yeah.
you have to, and I remember when I started show number one, and I was so nervous, and it was like, oh, I didn't do, all the things of what I didn't do, and it was like, nope, just do it. And it was literally show number one. Somebody wrote a message and said, thank you so much for this show
Mm,
today, and I was like, okay, Lord. Okay, then there is some value there. But I am just
absolutely.
enjoying having these conversations because I agree with you. I believe that we come complete, and that's why the opportunity, we talk about kids say the darndest things, or kids perspectives, and they're so honest,
Hmm.
and that's the beauty of staying connected to kids. I'm like, I would tell people all the time, please give me a classroom of 8-year-olds any day over some of these books, right?
Right. Yes.
Right, because Lord have mercy, some of our folks, that trauma. So, you
Shows
know,
up.
man, they keep bringing it, right? So this whole idea of, you're right, being socialized to kind of disconnect from who you are. And I felt like for myself along the journey, there was one time I did Landmark, which is a training
Hmm.
modality. And so I did Landmark right after my master's degree. And what was interesting about that is I did a master's in organizational management rather than an MBA. And I made that conscious decision because I really wanted to be an expert in really understanding kind of leadership, because this was after having had my big agency. And I knew that I wanted to build another big organization. But I also found that there were some leadership things that I just didn't think I had the tools, the skills, and I wanted some additional tools that would be helpful. And I'm like, if I'm spending $65,000, I should get to pay for something that is going to add value. I don't want to just pay for a piece of paper to reinforce what I'd
Yeah.
already mastered, right? But for me, the MAOM was going to be challenging because we had to cross over with the psych students. And I equated that to like nails on a chalkboard. I did not want to be in those classes, but okay, it turned out to be a blessing, blessing, blessing. So then I go into Landmark, and I did Landmark for a year.
Mm.
And in that process of really understanding that, yes, stuff happens,
Mhm.
but what you're interpreting those things to mean has everything to do with your lens. And
Yes.
shift your lens and shift your intention, you can begin to shift what it is you're experiencing. Now, it doesn't mean
Hmm.
that you're not going to have experiences along the journey. You
Right.
will. You're going to fall and scrub your knee. Absolutely. Yes, you are. But your perspective
Hmm.
about that is going to
Makes
determine
all the
what
difference in
happens
the
next.
world.
Absolutely.
Indeed. It's like the idea of seeing the glass half full versus half empty. And if you fill yourself up watching the news and you are fully aware of all of the tragedy and minutia that can happen, really 1% of the time, but because you digest that, you can be almost scared to, walk out of the house. So I stopped watching, the news a good 20 years ago. I don't stay uninformed, but
Yeah.
I just don't fill myself up with all of that negativity, because it we come into this world kind of being embraced into an environment of lack and scarcity, and it's from the perspective of love, because our parents don't want us to walk out on the street and get hit, so oftentimes it's don't do this, watch out for that, you can't do this. And
Mhm.
then if you've been raised in a community where you're quote the minority, then there's another layer of protections and carefulness and a box that you're placed in. And if you're a woman in the world, that's a whole nother kind of box, that we're placed in. And it seems like this point of our human journey over the past thousands, millions of years, it seems like humanity is evolving into a more collective space. The world's getting smaller and smaller because we've got, the internet and streaming and all this kind of thing. So we can connect and we can relate and understand cultures that we may not have been exposed to before, which helps just the humanness of us feel less separate and more cohesive and together. And while there is a lot of muckety muck continuing to go on in this world, there's still a tremendous amount of goodness that is taking place as well. So many, by way of social media, TikTok goes away. I don't know what I'm going to do, but but the nice thing about that is you can be in like someone's living room, someone's home that you would have never ever met, and hear their stories, their experience, get a taste of their culture, and really begin to be connected and less separate. And I think that also adds to our redevelopment of our mindset of people and cultures, and begin to make better connections, to things, and recognize that our experience in the United States is very similar to experiences in other countries, in the sense that government, if I can say this, tries to control and I'll say this, let me not get on the government thing, but I'll say this from a business perspective. So from a business perspective, knowing that we are all born wealthy, we are often told that we're not. And so then therefore we don't develop the necessary skills and talents all the time to enhance that wealth. Because the ultimate objective is to be able to add value from that wealth, and in a capitalistic society, be able to monetize it. And in that exchange, you're essentially converting your inner wealth into its outer equivalent. And the result of that should be an abundant amount of monetary success, which still doesn't define you, it adds to you. So sometimes we get twisted into thinking the cars, the houses, the clothes, the purses, all that material stuff is what is you. But I'll tell you this, I could drive a putt-putt, but in terms of me traveling, it's a private jet, but only I would know that, or people who know me would know that. I can get my clothes at Goodwill, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, I'm not into the Gucci and the this and the that, I'd rather go to a local boutique where someone has handmade, the outfit or the shoes or whatnot. And that adds another layer of value to servicing and focusing on your community. The more we begin to understand that integral piece of our wealth and be able to exchange that in ways that add to our health and well-being, then, as corny as it sounds, the better the world, we'll live in. Because it's what gets distracted, when I think where humanity gets frustrated, is we release our power. And when we
Absolutely.
release our power, we tend to think, oh, well, it's the government's fault, or it's the politician's fault, or, it's big pharma, fault. Well, big pharma never said that you couldn't plant some rosemary in your backyard. Didn't say
Not
any of
yet.
that.
Not yet, right?
Well, let's not put that in the atmosphere.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
what capitalism does, and what business does, is that it meets the demand of people. So if the demand of people are saying, it doesn't make sense for me to pick up an item to eat and it says real cheese. Well, why would it be fake cheese in the first place? So there needs to be a fundamental understanding that we are using real food at all times, and advertising that we're using real organic whole grain food shouldn't be a factor,
Right. Right.
right? But
Right.
it takes me and you to be able to say, I'm developing a company that's going to produce food, that's going to produce clothing that's environmentally sound so it doesn't get filled up into our landfills. I'm going to recycle flip-flops, make them into art, whatever it is, whatever your desire, whatever your thought is. The incredible thing is that somebody wants your idea, someone needs what you have to offer, and someone's willing to pay for it.
And that's the part. And so that was also part of this, what I say, this fascinating journey, where it was really October of 2020 where I felt like I had made it far enough along the journey that I could kind of look back and recognize sort of that 2020 vision that,
Mm,
oh my God, it hit me while I was in the grill, just grounding, walking every morning. And then that became my run. And then I got it up to where I was running 3.5 miles every morning, just feeding my body, mind, body, and
mhm,
soul. I was eating, I eat the idle meals prepared by the Rasta, so I just watched my food, as I'm explaining to folks, the coconut that I'm consuming, it was just on the tree a
that's
couple
right.
hours ago at most, probably just an hour ago at best. You know what I'm saying? So when you eat live food, your
Hmm.
body and cells respond. I said my body started dancing on the inside so that I was like, oh my God, I'm being transformed. But as it
Mm,
relates to the journey and the business, what I realized was the business that I set it into motion when I was 9 years of age, where I said I was going to be this international business tycoon. What I didn't realize is that the Almighty and the ancestors said, okay, yes. So then now we know, then this is your course, right? Yes. So if you do the work, right? Or as my grandmother used to say, we all have a cross to bear. They're different sizes depending upon what our assignments are. So, yeah, I had a cross, but I set up the cross because I said
mhm.
I wanted to have this massive, existence. I wanted to contribute. I did the prayer of Jabez, enlarge my territory. I want
Yes.
a large territory because I felt that I wanted to be recognized for having created the sustainable business. Business has been my love all, and as I would tell my son, it's all a business. So when you
Hmm.
find things that you love, then it's not work, and it's just
Right.
you putting forth your gifts and talents based on your assignment. So it's not
Hmm.
surprising that I had the desire to birth the seeds that my mom planted in me about back to Eden, holistic health, like all of these different yoga. I used to laugh at her when she started doing yoga with Lilius or something, this lady. I used to think it was so funny, right? But she was so cute. And then, all the organic cooking and, all of those things that she stressed as being important things for how I would have a healthier journey. And
Yeah.
she's right, because sadly, she passed at 48. Stress,
Mm.
taking a nap and having a brain aneurysm, that's stress. She wasn't
Yeah.
sick. She didn't have anything going on. That was stress, right? So
Yeah.
she reminded me the importance of, and then my father later passing, I'm at 57. It was
Mm.
amazing because I was the younger in my peer group. My parents were younger than my friends. So the fact that I figured I would have my parents, way longer because they were younger, but my parents died first, like 20
Hmm.
plus first. Now
Yeah.
my friends are just starting to deal with either aging elder parents or parents beginning to pass on, where it's like I had to go that journey over 27
Very
years
good.
ago by myself, where my friends didn't know how to support me. So I had to develop those tools. But to the point of, that's then why it's my assignment now to bring forth and
Hmm.
support those solutions, because I can now give a Cliff Notes version of, listen, you don't have to suffer this long.
Yeah.
You lose your mother in the physical sense. You do need to
Hmm.
go through the grieving process, but you don't need to get stuck there.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
You had mentioned on the subject of stress. We can't avoid that, but we can definitely monitor it and derail it. That's a better term. And so I am comfortable in sharing this testimony. I was talking to you about it earlier, but a couple of weeks ago, I was stressed out. If everything could go wrong, if things could be delayed, it
Mhm.
all happened. And so, when you sit there in the, what is it, the wee hours of the morning, you're on your knees and you're like, Lord, hear my prayer. What is happening? I felt a lump.
Mm.
And, it was, it felt inflamed. And I'm thinking, my first thought was like, Lord Jesus, don't let it be cancerous, right? And then I was like, whoop, we're not even going to go there beyond that 3 seconds that I said that sentence. And I flipped the script.
Mhm.
And I just began to focus on healing, health, and the issues that I knew. I figured it was stress. So I was like, okay, what's stressing me out? Because what we know is our body talks to us. And
Absolutely.
I have learned that as early as when I was in my latter stages of college, that my body started talking to me when I was stressed out. I got bumps, or I got a rash, or, I got this cough and I got a 6-pack as a result of this cough, And so I've been very in tune to that over the years. And so when I got this lump, I said, okay, I know I'm stressed out about these things. Let me focus on creating resolve regarding these things. And I did not put focus on the inflammation. I paid attention, but I didn't put focus,
Sure.
on it. My focus was healing,
Mhm.
not exacerbating it. And I would say that that was like a Tuesday. A couple days later, I just kind of checked in on it. And I was like, okay, so inflammation is down, it's smaller. Okay, so I think I'm heading in the right direction here. So I continued with my healing, prayer, meditation, yoga, all of that, focusing on healing. And then that Sunday, I decided to do some grounding work. And I went to a park, took my shoes off, and I just walked around the park for a good 20, 30 minutes after
Mhm.
watching a TikTok video explaining the value of, of grounding. I'm telling you, I'm hooked to TikTok. I don't know what I'm gonna do without it. But
I
anyway.
have to make sure I put more stuff on TikTok then. I've been starting, but I need to really, really make TikTok
Yeah, you
it.
do. We all do. So by that, and I still didn't check it because again, I'm not focused on it because I know my underlining knowledge, truth, and thought is that it will heal.
Mhm.
That was the energy I had consistent all throughout. So then that evening, I was kind of like, well, let's see, where are we with that? So I'm rubbing and, twisting and, trying to make sure nothing gone, complete, nada, nunca. Nothing was there and nothing is there.
Right.
And I thought about doing a castor oil pack,
Mhm.
but by the time I thought about doing a castor oil pack, nothing was there.
Right. Right.
So to your question of does mindset make a difference?
Mhm.
Heck yeah.
Mhm.
I had earlier gone through a health scare, and I was so focused on the physical part. I was on Dr. Sebi's diet. I was, eating sea moss. I was exercising, all of that. And I was praying and spoke a little bit of focus on the spirituality, but not as heavily as I was on the physical part. And that condition remained. And then I began to realize I got to work on my mindset too. Continue to work on the spirituality. And as I began to focus on that Trinity, the mind, the body, the spirit, that's when the healing really began to occur.
That is why, when I tell people about what was the impetus for, ZenoVerse Wellness Group and my 420 Wellness brand
Mm-hmm.
around the world, it was really about that. It was this balance of my mother was into, again, this early, kind of back to Eden, the cannabis, all of these things that I didn't quite know and understand at the appropriate
Mm-hmm.
back then, but also as I got to a certain point and I thought about how I felt the best and when I
Yeah.
felt the best, but it was about an energy. And I kept saying, if I could just find my way back to the zone, but it seemed like
Mm.
the zone was hidden. And it was really trying to figure out when did I last connect to it? Not even
Mm-hmm.
sure if it was going to work again. So when I ended up going to Jamaica back in 2020. And that was the first time that I ended up staying 3 months straight,
Mm.
right? I wasn't even sure that I could be away from home that long. And you know what I mean? And all that stuff. And
Everything worked out.
I didn't even want to come back. Like if I was Jamaican and I could have a passport and stay, I probably wouldn't have returned except for when they finally made us come back to campus for school, and I had And then my friends were laughing, like, no, she's not going to fly from Jamaica every month because she wants to go back to Jamaica. And then the last 4 months, I had to kind of go, okay, well, maybe, I came back in October and I had to stay, on the US side, October through December, January. I'm like, and here it is, going into April. It's like, okay, I'm still here. I would already have been gone, and gone. But while I was there, what I realized was once I got back to Negril, that it wasn't just a figment of my imagination, that there
Mhm.
are some real serious energy fields there. And
Mm.
when you are grounding, and originally I didn't know about grounding, and it was one of my dear friends who said to me, she's like, "You out there walking on the beach every day?" "Yeah, I'm getting my 10,000 steps in." And she says, "Take off your shoes." Because no, I got my flip
Mm.
flops on, my feet. So she said, "Take off your shoes."
Yeah.
And within 2 days of taking off my shoes, oh my gosh, there was a physical block that was in my
Mm.
body. And by the second day of me doing my 10,000 steps, and it was like it was just released and it
Wow.
dissipated. And in that instant, I released whatever it was, like there was a weight that I had been carrying, a backpack, and that spirit just jumped out into the water and off of.
Wow.
And it was kind of like, and then in that instant, the sun was shining brighter, the water was clear. Like it was like a whole, like, you say something happened to you, it was like you're looking around, like, do you see this? Like, am I just tripping? And then when I got back to my hotel, the little old lady that is the owner of the hotel, normally she would be out early in the morning with her handlers. And for some reason, I came and just sat down there and just was in my moment trying to process. And I hear somebody say, "Come here, come here." And I'm like, finally I snap out of it and I'm like, what is she doing? Where are her people? But it was like she called me over and she had a word for me, like confirmation that she answered. Because after that instant, like, our exchange didn't happen like that again, but it was that day, bam.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I came home, there had been like this 15 pounds that I'd been struggling to gone. And then
Mm.
my whole healing, just doing what I had normally done, got better
Yeah.
with a few little tweaks. And I just started seeing my whole body. And as I began to regain control of my body and
Mm-hmm.
my rest, I began to meditate, something I had never been able to successfully incorporate into my lifestyle as a practice. But I
Mm-hmm.
got there. And then I saw what that looked like. One day I went into a meditation on the beach in the grill that was so like took me away. I'm like, oh my God. Wow. Like,
Yes.
what happens to you when you meditate? Like, really? Oh Lord. So I want to tell the world. Yes,
Yeah.
you can feel better. You should feel better. You better feel better.
Right?
Let's get on this mindset thing. Like there's a path forward. And so we have a whole
Absolutely.
bench of players. We can help you with that mind, body, and soul outcome. And
Yeah.
make sure that you, since we're telling you you're going to live 120 years and beyond, we'll make sure you have the, health and the wealth to sustain
Absolutely.
your lifestyle, right? And so, how we do those things will be a series of these touch points, these opportunities. Anyway, I've had such a wonderful, wonderful time chatting with
Likewise.
you today. How should people get in touch with you if they'd like to learn more about your services and solutions?
Well, you can definitely find me on TikTok.
Exactly. I'll be on there too.
Yes. So all my handles, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, is at Zeallionaire. And Zeallionaire is ZeallionAire.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, Melanie, I know we'll have to catch up again because I'm sure these conversations will continue to evolve. I'm going to meet you over on TikTok too. I'm going to get myself over there and I'm going to circle back because I really would like to invite you to one of these wellness retreats with
Indeed.
yes,
Yes.
and some of the people that I've been discussing, some of our upcoming weeks with are women in particular who I discovered. I spent the weekend with some beautiful ladies, and I said, they were having a conversation. I said, would you guys like to come to one of my, 420 Tranquility and Treasury? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. I wasn't planning dates per se because I'm touring and I'm in acquisitions mode. So I'm kind of looking at sites. And so I wasn't really worried about hosting as much, but I'm like, oh, okay, sure, let me put some stuff on the calendar for you guys because I'm going several places. Some of you may want to go spa hopping with me around the world. Just
Oh,
saying.
nice. Yeah. There's some
Just
spots in Greenland, some of the natural spas.
Oh,
That would
send
be
me your list.
interesting.
In fact, I must encourage you guys. If you have spas that you think I should check out, should Dr. Money check out this spa? Send it to me. And I'm going to put it on our list because I plan, we want to go to St. Lucia. We want to
Hmm.
go, I'm working on something in Italy. Trinidad. We want to do Trinidad Carnival next year, the 420 Beauty Bear team at Trinidad Carnival. So everybody get your little body ready. A girlfriend made me get mine ready. So I'm ready, y'all. I'm ready.
Indeed, indeed.
All of those things. But anyway, so thank you again, Melanie, and
Thank
let's
you.
catch up
Always a
real
pleasure.
soon. All right, I'll see you soon.
Bye now.
So, everyone, thank you. Thank you for sharing another episode of Naked with Dr. Money. I hope that you found a few nuggets that you could utilize through my conversation with Melanie today. I hope that you are claiming ownership of your mindset. And trust me, if you control your mind, it will inform, support your motivations, and you will realize your manifestations. So until next week, go out and be brilliant. And I'll see you again next time where we can share another episode of Naked with Dr. Money and we can work on that mindset, keeping it on point so that we can realize holistic wellness, mind, body, and soul. I'll see you soon. Take care, guys.